You ready? Hey to everyone. Welcome to the Senate Chamber. I will begin momentarily, but before we do, I'd like to ask everyone to put your phone on silent mode. So we'll not distract with the proceedings of this meeting today. We will be both on live feed, cable TV, and also on Facebook, as indicated by the clerk here, IT. And also for everyone's information, the rules does allow us, the Senate rules does allow us to, for a member, provided that he or she is in the CNMI, that they can appear via electronically. So in this case, our floor leader, Senator Vinicio Blan, is joining us via Zoom.
Good morning, everybody.
And he will be on record as we call the roll. So with that, I would like to call this second regular session. Today is Tuesday, September 14, 2021, here in Senate Chamber in Saipan. It's approximately 10:25 a.m. And at this time, I request everyone to please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you, Clerk. The chair recognizes the clerk to please call the roll.
Senator Cruz?
Here.
Senator De Leon Guerrero? Here. Senator Hoku?
Here.
Mr. President?
Gay.
Senator King Neighbors?
Present.
Senator Mangonia? Senator Kirua? Senator Sablan?
Present.
Senator Santos? Here. Mr. President, 8 members are present, 1 absent.
With 8 members present and 1 absent, we have a quorum to conduct this session, and let the record reflect that Senator Mangonia is hereby excused from this hearing. And so with that, we move on to item B. But before I do that, I would like to recognize the CEO for CHCC, Ms. Esther Rizal-Muñoz. Dr. Esther Rizal-Muñoz, welcome to the chamber. And of course, all your key staff. So under item B in public comment, this is the portion of our session where we allow members of the general public who are with us today in the gallery to provide testimony on any of the items in today's order of business. So if there's anybody that would like to come on, this is the time to do it. And kindly state your name for the record. The floor is now open. Again, any of the items that is included in today's order of business. Just a public comment for now. It's up to you.
I guess this is Esther.
Sarge, can you assist?
Esther Lizama, the CEO of CHCC. I'm here to comment on a couple of things, of course. Number one is the confirmation of our board member, Corinne Hofschneider Santos. I did give my comments at the committee meeting, and we're hoping that confirmation is expeditious today so that we can have a conversation also on the meeting this afternoon with the board. So we're all here to support her confirmation. The other comment that we would like to make, and we were not sure if it's on the agenda. That's the reason why I was a little confused earlier. But we were hoping to have, the Senate consider changing the rate of the utility costs for the hospital. And I brought my team with me, the CFO and the CEO. As you know, Caitlin has written Caitlin Nices McConnell, who was working for us, but right now is on sabbatical, has written a white paper in regards to fair rate for utilities for the health center or the agency. And that paper, it particularly focuses on what had happened in 2010, which was that the commission, utility commission, requested for a study, cost study for, for agencies to be able to see the government rate. At that time in 2010, of course, we did not exist as a corporation. We were an agency under the executive branch. And it basically forced the requirement of us paying the government rate, which is really, in our opinion, and we did request this from to the AG, that it is an unfair rate, considering other healthcare providers are paying commercial rate, but yet we are paying the larger part of that. And the CFO can expand on why we are pushing for that, and also COO. So our request today is to make it right, so that we put this issue, to close, and also work with the executive branch, the governor, in regards to offsetting some of the costs that really should also be paid to CHCC, which is like the Medicaid matching rate, the other costs that we have. And so I will leave it to them, and then we will answer questions.
Thank you. CEO, respectfully, can we, the bill it didn't meet the 72-hour filing, but it's ready for formal introduction today. I would like to ask that once that one is done, and when we done with this session, we'll have a more thorough discussion on the matter.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
But yes, we're here also to support Mrs. Santos. Thank you.
Okay. So is there any other items in the agenda that you would like to comment on, whether you are not in support or you're in support?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the community would like to present a testimony? I also want to recognize the Sackler for administration and Ms. Anisha. Thank you, CEO. And there being no further testimony from the public, the chair would like to, without any objection, would like to move to item M under standing committee report, and we'll entertain standing committee report number 22-48. That is item 7 on the order of business, item M. So if there's no objection from the members, I now recognize the floor leader for the appropriate motion to offer for to dispose of the standing committee report. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can everybody hear me? I just want to make sure.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, everybody. that's present today in the chamber. I wish I was present as well. I am operating out of the quarantine facility. Family and I just arrived 2 days ago from the mainland. So nonetheless, I'm back and ready to work. So with that, Mr. President, our first standing committee report on today's agenda is standing committee report number 22-48 from your committee on executive appointments and government investigations, reporting on the executive reappointment of Mrs. Corinne Alcinaga-Santos to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation Board of Trustees, representing the 2nd Senatorial District. Mr. President and members, I move for its adoption.
Second.
Then a motion offered by floor leader for the adoption of standing committee report number 22-48 and seconded. In the discussion, the chair recognizes the chair for EAGI, Senator Francisco Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and members of the Senate, this is standing committee report number 22-48, and this is the executive appointment of Mrs. Corinne H. Santos to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation Board of Trustees. Mr. President, your committee on executive appointment and investigation to which was referred the reappointment of Mrs. Corinne H. Santos to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Health Corporation CHCC Board of Trustees begs leave to report as follows. After review and consideration of testimonies provided, your committee recommends the confirmation of Mrs. Corinne Santos' appointment to serve as a member of the CHCC Board of Trustees. Pursuant to Rule 8, Section 5 of the Official Rules of the Senate, it is the duty and purpose of your committee to report to the Senate for legislative action pertaining to the executive appointment of Ms. Corinne Santos to serve as a member of the CHCC Board of Trustees. Your committee has examined Ms. Santos' overall credentials to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Health Corporation Board of Trustees. And in summation of all written and oral testimonies provided to the committee, there are 6 written and 4 oral testimonies in support of the appointee. No written or oral testimonies in opposition of the appointee were received by the committee. Additionally, your committee stated several recommendations, issues, and concerns to the appointee that are included in this report. And based on the overall assessment of Mrs. Santos' credentials, experiences, testimonies, goals for the department, and other relevant issues considered, your committee is convinced that Mrs. Santos has the qualification and leadership skills necessary to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation Board of Trustees. The public hearing was conducted on August 24, 2021 here at the Jesus P. Mafnas Memorial Building, Capitol Hill, Saipan. And during the hearing, certain recommendations, issues, and concerns were raised for the appointee to address and look into and confirm as a trustee member. In conclusion, all required documents in conformance to Rule 8, Section 5 of the Official Rules of the Senate have been submitted to your committee for review and consideration. And based on the submission of pertinent documents and testimonies, your committee concludes that the reappointment of Ms. Santos to serve as a member of the CHCC Board of Trustees in accordance with 3 CMC Section 2825. Therefore, your committee consents to the confirmation of Mrs. Corinne H. Santos to serve as a member of the CHCC Board of Trustees. Again, I ask the full body of the Senate to support Standing Committee Report number 22-48. Thank you, Mr. President.
Jesus Masi, Senator Cruz, any other member would like to offer some comments? Before we call the roll. Ready? Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator De Jong Guerrero,
Yes.
Senator Hoku,
Yes.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Quiriguet, Senator Sablan,
Amen.
Senator Santos.
Yeah.
Mr. President,
I have to abstain. I clear conflict.
Mr. President, 7 members voting yes, 1 abstention, 1 absent.
With 7 members voting yes and 1 abstention, the standing committee report number 22-48 is hereby adopted, therefore confirming the nomination of Corinne H. Santos to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation Board of Trustees, representing the Second Senatorial District, Municipality of Tinian and Aguiguan. Thank you, and I would like to call for a short recess. Okay, we're back into our plenary session, and the chair would like to ask members to go back to item C, under reading and approving of the journal. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under item C of today's agenda, we have one journal ready for adoption, and it is Senate Journal number 22-09, first day, second regular session, dated August 12, 2021. Mr. President, members, I move for its adoption.
Motion has been offered for the adoption of Senate Journal number 22-09, and it's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion for the adoption of Senate Journal 22-09, please say aye. All those opposed say
Aye.
nay. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Senate Journal number 22-09 is hereby adopted. Messages from the governor. Clerk.
Mr. President, we have 18 on our agenda, 86 to 103.
Any comments from the members? Vice President.
Mr. President,
I'm gonna recognize Vice President Quiroga, then I'm gonna go to you, Flor.
thank you.
Yes, it's Masi, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would like to acknowledge the governor's approval of Senate Bill 22-26 SB1, which is now Public Law 22-04, for his understanding of the necessity to be more in conformity with the CNRA Constitution Article 5, Section 1, in seating members of the Board of Education. This is Mr. President.
Thank you, Vice President Senator. Thank you. Now I recognize Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, and this is in reference to Governor's Communication 22-88. I want to convey my appreciation to both the House for agreeing to and signing this bill into law. As we all know, we are in the midst of pandemic that is challenging us with moving around and also participating in different events. But with this law, it does allow for our agencies, boards, and commissions to participate in their meetings as long as they're within the CNMI, and to vote also and act on certain regulations during these meetings. But I wanted to remind the agencies, boards, and commissions that they must promulgate regulations to utilize the electronic means. The signing into law of Senate Bill number 22-09 HD1 does not automatically allow the entities to use electronic means. They must promulgate the regulations first into their bylaws, and then they can move forward with taking advantage of this option. Thank you, Mr. President.
This is Masi, Floor Leader Sabang. Any other member? Recognize Senator Chairman Frank Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is in reference to Governor Message number 22-101 for signing into law. In reference to House Local Bill number 22-11, draft 1, and this is to reappropriate 40,000 allotted under Kenyan Local Law 20-15, Section 2G to the Kenyan Municipal Scholarship Board, and for the purpose and now becomes Kenyan Local Law number 22-03, and Governor's Message number 22-102, and it is in reference to House Local Bill number 22-14, draft 1, to reappropriate 62,996 under Kenyan Local Law 22-2, Section 2B, and for other purposes, and becomes Kenyan Local Law number 22-04. And lastly, Mr. President, Government Message number 22-103, in reference to House Local Bill number 22-16, draft 1, to appropriate 78,000 from the revenues collected from poker fees for the second senatorial district and for the purpose and become Kenyan Local Law number 22-05. I extend my appreciation and gratitude on behalf of the second senatorial district to the administration, Governor Torres, and Lieutenant Governor Claus. Use motion, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chairman Cruz. I recognize Senator Teresita Santos.
Thank you, Mr. President. And this is in reference to Governor's message number 2290. I noticed that the administration has withdrawn the reappointment of Mr. Fermin Actolic to the CHCC Board of Trustees. If Mr. Actolic has expressed no interest to continue serving under this board, it is highly recommended that the administration nominates an individual from the first senatorial district so Rodas can continue to be represented to the CHCC Board of Trustees, a very vital governing board. Thank you, Mr. President.
Jesus Macia, Senator Santos. Item E, communications from the judiciary,
We have none, Mr. President.
communications from the heads of executive department.
Yes, we have one, 22-22. It's from the Department of Finance, third quarter financial report for FY 2021.
Any comments? Senator De Jong Guerrero.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have several comments on this communication, number 22-22 from the Secretary of Finance. If I could just pull this up quickly. Thank you very much. I'm very much interested in knowing more details on the FEMA loan that is indicated here, which states the CNMI received the completed Federal Emergency Management Agency Community Disaster Loan in fiscal year 21 quarter 3. I'm not too sure if the $88,734,930 is the entire principal amount of the loan from FEMA, or is that the remainder of what exactly is the principal amount of the notes? So I would like to request a much more greater detail reporting on this particular loan for the Commonwealth, which states here it reimburses the CNMI General Fund for prior expenses and also to fund prior and current obligations and appropriations to government entities and vendors. So there's a lot of narrative going on in this particular paragraph. It's of interest to myself. I'm sure the entire body is also interested in knowing how much exactly is the CNMI owing to vendors with respect to its obligations from prior and current obligations to vendors and other government entities. Additionally, it provides a table on figure 1.1, CDO expenses. That is the labeling of the chart. I did a quick addition to that, and it amounts to $70,772,714 to be exact. And if we are to make the assumption that the $88.7 million of the CDO loan is the exact principal amount of the note, that leaves it $17,962,216. And I'm wondering if there's any obligation to this remainder of the note itself. That's not clear to me at all. Additionally, it went on to mention on page 2 under figure 1.1, it says, in regards to under budgeted allotment items, quarter 3 actual expenditures showed several sections that had exceeded the appropriated budget. This is in part due to the CDO funding for current year and prior year obligations. The 25% retiree pension expenses amounting to $4.4 million for quarter 3 were funded by the FEMA CDO loan. And it says here that the CDO loan from FEMA will cover the remaining expenses for the 25% retiree pension for FY 2021. So I'm assuming that is the last quarter of the fiscal year, which we are approaching end of September 30. So if we were to take that down from the $17.9 million remaining, again, these are all assumptions based on my analyses of the communication from the Secretary of Finance, which I do request for much more clarity. Furthermore, it notes about $20.2 million expense for the government health and life insurance, employer share and retiree share. And it says this includes current year and prior year payments due to government health and life insurance vendors. I'm very worried about this, considering my background as a life insurance agent for more than 10 years, that if the government is delinquent on its payment of premium to the government health and life insurance vendors, the providers, the carriers of the policies, oftentimes when you're part of the group plan coverage and something happens to you and your premium is delinquent, that particular expense of your coverage will not be paid. Considering that we are in arrears, we have no idea, Mr. President, how much arrears is the government behind in its payment of premiums to these service providers for government health and life insurance coverage for its employees in group plan. If somebody dies today, God forbid that happens, and this premium is delinquent, how are we going to face the families of government employees and say, sorry, but your death insurance policy cannot be paid by the service provider because the government is delinquent on its payment to its vendor? Are we that, open and honest enough to admit to the service providers that the CNMI government is delinquent on its payments, on its premium policies for the government group members on health and life insurance? We are dealing with family protections, Mr. President. I'm very worried that this is the situation that families of the government employees are facing, unknown to them that the CNMI government is actually delinquent on its payments to its service providers. Additionally, it went on to say that $24.2 million is FEMA reimbursable for disaster response. I'm not too sure if this disaster response is referring to YouTube, is it referring to Sodalor, or is it referring to the current amount of money on COVID response? And it says in parentheses on the top chart, FEMA reimbursement, $20.8 million. That is a difference of about $3.3 million between the two numbers. So I'm not too sure, again, on the narrative, what is it referring to with respect to reimbursable, amounts of expenses that has to be booked first by the central government in order for FEMA to reimburse the state government. Which one is which? Is it 20.8 or is it 24.2? And for what disaster are we talking about? And how much reimbursement have we gotten back from FEMA? We understand that the illegal overtime payment is not going to be reimbursed by FEMA to the tune of $8 million. We need transparency. We need to be accountable because we're talking about a loan from FEMA. We don't even know if this particular loan is going to turn into a grant. We're talking about $88 million of outright obligation liability of the central government. And we just don't know exactly the numbers. We cannot analyze based on narratives like this. And this is, the frustration that I'm getting on reports like this. Additionally, it talks about collecting taxes from PUA money for the third quarter. The amount of $4.6 million. Everybody knows I conducted 2 oversight on the PUA and FUC program, and I had a lot of financial questions. It'll be interesting to know from the Secretary of Finance how much was disbursed of PUA FUC monies for the third quarter of fiscal year 2021, and that is April to June 2021 of PUA funds that generated $4.6 million in taxes. We need more details, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Leower. Any other members like to comment on any of the communications? Item G, communications from the House.
Mr. President, we have 9 on our agenda, committee is 49 to 57.
Comments? Communications from the Senate.
We have 12, 22 to 49 to 60, President.
Comments from members? Communications from the Washington delegate.
We have none.
Unfinished business.
None, Mr. President.
pre-file bills, initiative, local bills, and resolutions. The chair recognizes the Vice President and Senator Houston Kigwa.
This is Mossy, Mr. President. Mr. President, officially introducing Senate Bill 22-61 to amend 3 CLC subsection 1331B by deleting the offset provisions of the Northern Marianas College annual budget on the highlights. This is Mossy, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any other member? Item L, introduction of bills, initiative, local bills, and resolutions. Members? The chair has one, formally introducing an unnumbered legislation entitled to mandate the Commonwealth Utilities Corporation to change the power, water, and wastewater rate for the Commonwealth Health Care Corporation to commercial rate and for other purposes. And clerk, can you please issue a number and to the committee that's assigned, I respectfully ask that we act on this piece of legislation to work with the department in discussion to address some of the concerns they mentioned earlier, as indicated by the CEO. Thank you. Reports of standing committees. And at this time, I recognize floor leader to offer the appropriate motions, beginning with item 1. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. We did dispose of one standing committee report earlier from your committee on the AGI, and now the second standing committee report is standing committee report number 22-17 from the Committee on Judiciary, Government Law, and Federal Relations, reporting on Senate Bill number 22-15 to prohibit activity from occurring while traveling on a CNMI government trip paid for by CNMI government funds. The committee has recommendations for filing. Mr. President and members, I move for adoption.
A motion offered by the floor leader to adopt standing committee report number 22-17, reporting on Senate Bill number 22-15. Do I hear a second? All those in favor of the motion for the adoption of standing committee report number 22-17, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Standing committee report number 22-17 is hereby adopted. Proceed, floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our next standing committee report is standing committee report number 22-43 from your Committee on Judiciary, Government Law, and Federal Relations, reporting on House Bill number 22-12 to amend 4 CNC subsection 51420B to authorize the Secretary of Commerce to establish and promulgate reasonable registration and permitting fees to adopted regulations and for other purposes. Mr. President and members, I move for its adoption.
The motion for adoption of standing committee report number 22-43, so offered by the floor leader, is seconded. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion for the adoption of standing committee report number 22-43, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Standing committee report number 22-43 is hereby adopted. Proceed to the next item, floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next on reports of standing committees is standing committee report number 22-44 from your Committee on Judiciary, Government Law, and Federal Relations, reporting on House Bill number 22-28 HD1 to rename the structure for the Center for Living Independently in the CNMI to the Lydia E. Ipito Center for Living Independently in the CNMI and for other purposes. Mr. President and members, I move for its adoption.
Motion is being offered to adopt standing committee report number 22-44, floor leader.
Second.
Reporting on House Bill number 22-28 HD1, and it's been seconded. Discussion,
Ready.
ready? All those in favor of the motion to adopt Standing Committee Report number 22-44, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Standing Committee Report number 22-44 is hereby adopted. Proceed with the next item, Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next is Standing Committee Report number 22-45 from your Committee on Public Utilities, Transportation, and Communications, reporting on Senate Bill number 22-19 to require all gas service stations to provide to the public free compressed air, a gauge for measuring air pressure, and water, and for other purposes. Mr. President and members, I move for its adoption.
And the motion offered for adoption of Standing Committee Report number 22-45. Do I hear a second? And it's been seconded. Discussion? All those in favor to adopt Standing Committee Report number 22-45, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Standing Committee Report number 22-45 is hereby adopted. Proceed with the next item, Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next is Standing Committee Report number 22-46 from your Committee on Resources, Economic Development, and Programs, reporting on Senate Bill number 22-20 to establish the Hunting Act of 2021 for the Commonwealth and for other purposes. Mr. President and members, I move for its adoption.
In the motion for adoption of Standing Committee Report, for the passage of Standing Committee Report number 22-46. Floor Leader, and it's been seconded. Discussion? Ready? All those in favor of the motion for the adoption of Standing Committee Report number 22-46, please say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Standing Committee Report number 22-46 hereby adopted. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next is Standing Committee Report number 22-47 from your Committee on Judiciary, Government, Law, and Federal Relations, reporting on House Bill number 22-2 to amend the Commonwealth Code to authorize civil claims for child sexual abuse to be commenced at any time and for other purposes. Mr. President and members, I move for its adoption.
And a motion offered by the Floor Leader for the adoption of Standing Committee Report number 22-47, reporting on House Bill number 22-2, and it's been seconded. Discussion?
Ready.
Ready? Ready? All those in favor for the adoption of Standing Committee Report number 22-47, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Standing Committee Report number 22-47 is hereby adopted. Floor Leader.
Thank you. Next is Standing Committee Report number 22-49 from your Committee on Resources, Economic Development, and Programs, reporting on Senate Bill number 22-22 to amend the village homesteads in the first, second, Saipan agricultural homesteads in the first and second cemetery districts in Saipan, and to specifically prohibit the Department of Public Lands from revoking a village or agricultural homestead permit after it is approved and issued because the applicant met all requirements, including that the applicant has no interest in land at the time the permit was approved and for other purposes. Mr. President and members, I move for its adoption.
A motion offered for adoption. I have further to adopt Standing Committee Report number 22-49, reporting on Senate Bill 22-22. It's been seconded.
Yep.
Discussion?
For discussion.
Ready? All those in favor of the motion for the adoption of Standing Committee Report number 22-49, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Aye.
Standing Committee Report number 22-49 is hereby adopted. Proceed to the next item, Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next is Standing Committee Report number 22-50 from your Committee on Judiciary, Government, Law, and Federal Relations, reporting on Senate Bill number 22-44 to authorize the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety to work with private business owners to install video surveillance cameras, direct toward the public right-of-way in support of the CMIS reporting system and for other purposes. Mr. President and members, I move for its adoption.
The motion offered by the floor leader for the adoption of Standing Committee Report number 22-50. And it's been seconded. All those in favor of the motion for the adoption, I'm sorry, under discussion. Ready? Okay, there being none. All those in favor of the motion for the adoption of Standing Committee Report number 22-50, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Standing Committee Report number 2250 is hereby adopted. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next is Standing Committee Report number 22-51 from your Committee on Judiciary, Government Law, and Federal Relations, reporting on Senate Bill number 22-37 to amend Chapter 4, Division 6 of Title 6 of the Commonwealth Code relating to bail proceedings. Mr. President and members, I move for its adoption.
Floor leader has offered a motion for the adoption of Standing Committee Report number 22-51, reporting on Senate Bill 22-37. It's been seconded. Discussion. Ready? All those in favor of the motion to adopt Standing Committee Report number 22-51, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Standing Committee Report number 22-51 is hereby adopted. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our last Standing Committee Report is Standing Committee Report number 22-52 from your Committee on Judiciary, Government Law, and Federal Relations, reporting on Senate Bill number 22-38 to amend the Crimes and Criminal Procedure Code definitions of dangerous weapon and serious bodily injury. Mr. President and members, I move for its adoption.
Motion for adoption of Standing Committee Report number 22-52, reporting on Senate Bill 22-38. That's been seconded. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion for the adoption of Standing Committee Report number 22-52, please say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Standing Committee Report number 22-52 is hereby adopted. Thank you, floor leader. Thank you, members. Moving on, reports of special conference committee. Clerk.
None, Mr. President.
Resolution calendar.
None, Mr. President.
Under item P, view calendar. And at this time, the chair recognizes the floor leader for the appropriate motion, beginning with Senate Bill number 22-19 SD1.
Thank you, Mr. President. First on our bill calendar is Senate Bill number 22-19 in reference to Standing Committee Report 22-45 to require all gas service stations to provide to the public free compressed air, a gauge for measuring air pressure, and tap water, and for other purposes. Mr. President, members, I move for its passage in the form of SB1.
A motion for the passage of 22, offered by the floor leader for the passage of Senate Bill number 22-19 SD1. It's been seconded. Under discussion. No discussion. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Senator Hooker,
Okay.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Kidwa, Senator Sablan,
Okay.
Senator Santos. Mr. President.
Again,
Mr. President, 8 members voting yes.
with 8 members voting yes, Senate Bill number 22-19 SB1 hereby passes in the Senate. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our second bill on bill calendar is Senate Bill number 22-20 in reference to Standing Committee Report 22-46 to establish the Hunting Act of 2021 for the Commonwealth and for other purposes. Mr. President and members, I move for its passage in the form of SB1.
A motion for passage of Senate Bill number 22-20 as a D1. So offered by the floor leader and it's been seconded. Discussion?
Thank you, Mr. President. I am a full member to support the bill.
Recognize Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the full member of this body to support the bill, we have addressed the concern of the DNR and as well as the members. And I can see that it's a Senate draft one, so I ask again to support this legislation to small city.
Thank you, Chairman Cruz. Any further? There being none, clerk, can you please call the roll?
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator De Jong Guerrero,
Yes.
Senator Hoku,
Yes.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Kirwa, Senator Sablan,
Yes.
Senator Santos.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Again,
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
with 8 members voting yes, Senate Bill number 22-20 hereby passes the Senate in the form of SD1. Floor leader?
Thank you, Mr. President. Next bill is Senate Bill number 22-22 in reference to Standing Committee Report 22-49 to amend the provisions pertaining to village and agricultural homesteads in Rota, Tinian, and Saipan, and to specifically prohibit the Department of Public Lands from revoking a village or agricultural homestead permit after it is approved and issued because the applicant met all requirements, including that the applicant has no interest in the land at the time the permit was approved for other purposes. Mr. President and members, I move for its passage in the form of SS1.
A motion for passage of Senate Bill number 22-22. So for the floor leader, do I hear a second? Second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Monter, would you like to elaborate a little bit on the intent of this legislation?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, really no choice but to comment on my bill. Mr. President and members of the Senate, like I mentioned earlier, I humbly ask to support this legislation. This is the second time that this legislation appeared on here at the Senate. It was passed in the last legislature, but it did not go through in the House. And hopefully, I humbly ask also once it's passed in the Senate, and humbly ask our colleagues down in the House of Representatives to please support the legislation. This is very critical that we need to, this legislation needs to address the new homesteaders that apply the village or agricultural homestead in the 3 senatorial districts. So, Cebu Small City, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Cruz. Floor leader, would you like to comment on the bill?
I'm good, Mr. President. The audio was just kind of cutting on and off. I'm just hoping that the audio from here is getting through.
Thank you, floor leader. And, the chair would just like to offer a few observations with regards to the impetus of this legislation by my colleague, Senator Cruz. As indicated in the legislation, there's a lot of concerns raised by the homesteader with regards to the way the manner in which the department had executed its responsibility on issuing this the village homestead on all 3 islands, and it created a public outcry on some of the many of our homesteaders that they were made to they're a little bit confused in that regards because of whereas the department is trying to follow its mandated authority, there was a lot of ambiguities per se in some of the policies that were rendered in the past, therefore creating confusion today. So hopefully with this legislation that our good senator introduced, try and address those, we can shed more consistency in the way that this homestead policy is administered in all three senatorial district and even in the Northern Islands as well. So with that, I would like to thank the chair, Senator Cruz, for producing this legislation. Thank you. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Senator Hope, Senator King Neighbors.
Yes.
Senator Kirwa, Senator Sablan,
Okay.
Senator Santos. Mr. President,
Good.
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
With 8 members voting yes, Senate Bill number 22/22 hereby passes the Senate in the form of a Senate Substitute 1. Thank you. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next on bill calendar is Senate Bill number 22-37 in reference to Standing Committee Report 22-51 to amend Chapter 4, Division 6 of Title 6 of the Commonwealth Code relating to bail proceedings. Mr. President and members, I move for its passage in the form of SD 1.
A motion offered by the floor leader for the passage of Senate Bill number 22-37. And it's been seconded. Discussion? Ready? And recognize Chair of the GGO committee, Senator Carl King Neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I would kindly like to ask the support of the members for Senate Bill 2237 in the form of SD1. The impetus of this legislation was really to kind of fortify and streamline some of the ambiguity in the statute as it currently stands. Some criminal defendants have been released on bail, and while on bail commit other crimes and then get released on bail again. So we really just wanted to keep our community safe and streamline the statute. Thank you.
So just want to see Chairman Carl King Neighbors. Any other member? None? Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Senator Hope,
Yes.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Kirwa, Senator Sablan,
Okay.
Senator Santos. Mr. President,
Good.
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
With 8 members voting yes, Senate Bill number 22-37 hereby passes the Senate in the form of SD1. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next is Senate Bill number 22-38 in reference to Standing Committee Report 22-52. And this is to amend the Crimes and Criminal Procedure Code definitions of dangerous weapon and serious bodily injury. Mr. President and members, I move for its passage in the form of SD1.
Motion offered by floor leader for the passage of Senate Bill number 22-38. And it's been seconded. Discussion? Chair, I recognize Chairman Carl King Neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, this bill basically tries to streamline the statute and bolster some of the definitions with regards to bodily injury as serious harm. There were some comments that were submitted by the Public Defender's Office, but I want to assure the body that measures were taken to address the needs of the requests by the agency, and the requisite amendments were changed so that it allowed for their concerns to be addressed.
Just want to see Senator Carl King Neighbors. Any other member? None? Clerk?
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Senator Hope,
Yeah.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Kirwa, Senator Sablan,
Okay.
Senator Santos. Mr. President,
Congrats.
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
With 8 members voting yes, Senate Bill number 22-38 hereby passes the Senate in the form of SB1. Thank you. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next, we have Senate Bill number 22-44 in reference to Standing Committee Report 22-50 to authorize the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety to work with private business owners to install video surveillance cameras directed toward the public right-of-way in support of the CNMIS reporting system and for other purposes. Mr. President and members, I move for its passage in the form of SD1.
Floor leader offered a motion for the passage of Senate Bill 22-44. It's been seconded. Recognize Chairman Carl King Neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. President. Although I wasn't the author, our committee did review this legislation, and we found it to be appropriate. The basic tenets of the legislation is just to establish understanding with Department of Safety and other entities, public, private companies, to install surveillance cameras where there's a public right of way, in the hopes that in the event that something does transpire, this information and the footage can be given to the requisite department.
Thank you, Senator Carl King Neighbors. Any other member? Ready? Clerk, let's call the roll.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Senator Hooker,
Yes.
Senator King Neighbors, Senator Kidua, Senator Sablan,
Okay.
Senator Santos. Yes. Mr. President,
Again,
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
with 8 members voting yes, Senate Bill number 22-44 hereby passes the Senate in the form of SD1. Thank you. And I would like to ask the members to take a 5-minute break. we're back into our plenary session, and we still have about 4 more bills before us. And at this time, the chair recognizes the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our next bill is House Bill number 22-2 in reference to Standing Committee Report 22-47. And this is to amend the Commonwealth Code to authorize civil claims for child sexual abuse to be commenced at any time. And for other purposes, Mr. President and members, I move for its passage in the form of SD1.
Thank you, floor leader. And floor leader has offered a motion for the passage of House Bill number 22-2. It's been seconded. Discussion. I recognize Chairman Senator Victor Bijo.
I just wanna make sure, Mr. President, that the bill addresses also how the claim can be acquired if and when the party on a is being sued civilly, and how would that correlate with the criminal penalty and the length of civil claim that can be acquired after the party is after the party serve his criminal time, or if the party have exceeded the duration of the criminal charges. The committee perhaps have addressed that also in the form of a correlation between the civil and the criminal. Because what I can see that if you are, is it really coincide with getting a criminal penalty that a party can also claim at the same time, or after the criminal, after the defendant is found guilty, can a party file lawsuit after that?
Thank you. Thanks for the question. I recognize the chair of the committee, Senator Carpenter, to please respond to the question posed before this body.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Vice President. From my understanding of this legislation, if you've served your time and it's past the statute of limitations for civil, you can, if this passes, then you will be able to, the individual who has been wronged, who is victimized, can now go back and seek damages through civil proceedings. Regardless if the individual fulfilled their debt to society, this will be a separate civil claim that will be afforded to the victim. Now, in the event that the incident happened beyond the the statute of limitations, then this will allow for you to seek penalty, a civil.
Maybe you can, Mr. President, maybe the chair can further explain that it is not really necessary that that a criminal complaint after a party is found guilty, that the civil lawsuit is an automatic issue that warrant judgment because of the party that's found criminal guilty on the charges on this sexual thing. So let's say if I lose the case, if the criminal case is not, it is not in favor of the defendant, does that give the other party an automatic to avail claim on the civil issue that can be awarded?
May I request that we go on a short recess? Thank you. we're back in session. And before we take the recess, we were amending, offering comments on House Bill 22-2. Any further comments before we call the roll? Being none further. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Senator Hooker,
Okay, yes.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Kidua,
Okay.
Senator Sablan,
Okay.
Senator Santos.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yeah,
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
with 8 members voting yes. House Bill number 22-2 hereby passed the Senate in the form of SD1. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our next bill is House Bill number 22-12 in reference to Standing Committee Report 22-43 to amend 4 CMC subsection 51420B to authorize the Secretary of Commerce to establish and promulgate reasonable registration and permitting fees through adopted regulations and for other purposes. Mr. President and members, I move for its passage.
Then a motion offered by the floor leader for the passage of House Bill number 22-12. Has been seconded. Discussion?
Ready, sir?
Ready? Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Cruz.
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Senator Hooker.
Yes.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Kidua,
Yes.
Senator Sablan,
Okay.
Senator Santos.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
With 8 members voting yes, House Bill number 22-12 hereby passed in Senate. Clerk, floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next is House Bill number 22-28 in reference to Standing Committee Report 22-44 to rename the structure for the Center for Living Independently in the CNMI to the Lydia D. Iquito Center for Living Independently in the CNMI and all its purposes. Mr. President and members, I move for its passage in the form of HD1.
Then a motion for the passage offered by the floor leader on House Bill, passage of House Bill 22-28. Do I hear a second? Any discussion?
Ready.
Ready? Clerk?
Senator
roll.
Cruz,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Senator Hooker,
Yes.
Senator King Neighbors.
Yes.
Senator Kidua, Senator Sablan,
Okay.
Senator Santos.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
With 8 members voting yes, House Bill number 22-28 hereby passes the Senate in the form of House Bill number 22-28 HD1 hereby passes the Senate. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. And last on our bill calendar is House Bill number 22-31 in reference to House Communication number 22-55. And this is to authorize the Department of Public Lands to issue encroachment permits and charge fees for the use of the public lands located within 150 feet of the high water mark. Mr. President and members, I move for its passage in the form of HS1.
There's been a motion offered by floor leader for the passage of House Bill number 22-31 HS1. It's been seconded. Discussion. Ready? Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Cruz,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Senator Hooker,
Yes.
Senator King Neighbors,
Yes.
Senator Kidua, Senator Sablan,
Okay.
Senator Santos.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President, all 8 members voting yes.
With 8 members voting yes, House Bill number 22-31 HS1 hereby passes the Senate. Thank you, members. Thank you, floor leader. Under item Q, petitions, memorials, and miscellaneous communications. Clerk?
Mr. President, we have 7 on our agenda, 22-46 to 52.
Any comments? So Senator Leon, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to bring up to your attention again, when we had the meeting on Rhoda regarding the CUC dividends, I had an extensive conversation on the interest of having more information regarding the dividends from CUC. I believe to date we have not gotten that report. And the reason why I want to bring it up again today is because on miscellaneous communication 2248, there is a dividend expenditure reporting by CUC for each specific quarter, which amounts to $585 million for the end of the fiscal year. So again, I do want to state for the record, I am very much interested in having more information reporting regarding the dividends from CUC, having them reporting this as an expenditure in my analyses, because I don't have the exact information on how this income is being derived, is that CUC is paying out this dividend income to another entity, most likely. If not, then they are the recipient. But on this particular reporting on a quarterly basis, which is unaudited, period ending June 30, 2021, they are reporting this as an expenditure. So, Mr. President, please, if we could get the detailed report regarding the dividend on CUC, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Leon. The chair for particular committee, primarily the utilities, request that we convene a meeting with Gary, Executive Director, with regards to this particular report that submitted to the legislature. So, I believe Senator Vinny Sablan, earlier, your PUTC, no?
Yes, Mr. President, and I will be scheduling an audience with CUC and their executive team for a Q&A to address several of the issues and concerns, as well as the concern of Senator De Leon Guerrero. So that will be scheduled sometime in the coming weeks, and I will be sending out an announcement or memo to the members.
Thank you, Florian Sablan. Also, if you can just include in your communication to the board and the executive director any plans with regards to the funds that they're getting infused via ARPA or any other that is reporting to your committee and the members. I appreciate that, Florian. Thank you so much.
So noted, Mr. President.
Thank you. Under item R, announcements. None? Okay. Just the chair would like to just remind the members that at any given time, although there are some committee meetings and other meetings associated with your respective offices, given that we are mid part of September, which we're working on our fiscal year 2022 budget. At any time, I ask that you be on the lookout for special sessions or any other sessions coming to address the FY22 budget and any other legislations before us. Senator Chair.
Sir. Our announcement, Mr. President, is that your Committee on Fiscal agreed with the House to convene their conference joint meeting, Friday in 1:30. So, we can move on with our budget. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Information. So, with that, there being no further items before us, I recognize the floor leader to offer the appropriate motion or the proper motion for adjournment.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I'd like to offer a motion that we adjourn today's Senate session, subject to the call of the President.
Been a motion offered by the floor leader for adjournment of today's session. Seconded. All those in favor to adjourn this Senate session, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Senate session stands adjourned. Thank you.